Hello, Horror Stories. My name is Steven. And while I know some people consider being a cab driver to be a very stressful job, for me it's quite the opposite. Being in constant contact with people and learning how diverse their lives can be has taught me a lot. Sometimes we complain about insignificant things without realizing that the people next to us may be going through really distressing situations. Being a cab driver can be a bit exhausting, as one encounters all kinds of people, each with their own energy. However, the paranormal story I'm about to tell, which took place in 2017 in the southern United States, is unlike any other. I have always enjoyed interacting with my fellow cab drivers, and in fact, with some of them we form a WhatsApp group where we keep each other updated on what's new, such as closed roads or highways, accidents, or any information that might be useful on a day-to-day basis. Following the advice of a colleague, I started using the Uber app. To be honest, the change was quite drastic, especially financially at the end of the month, which lifted my spirits a lot. It not only benefited me, but also my wife, who was pregnant with our first baby at the time. The money we were putting aside went to shopping for the baby and renovating her room, which generated quite a lot of expenses for us. In addition, we set aside a portion as an emergency fund for when the time came to give birth. I didn't want to be caught off guard. The truth is that we were doing well in all aspects, and we lived with a lot of peace of mind. In the WhatsApp group, a colleague mentioned that every night an out-of-town trip appeared, but those who accepted it disappeared without a trace. I was skeptical about that topic, as the supposed missing people were not known to me or any of my close colleagues, so I could not confirm if it was true or just a story to scare us or reduce competition. However, the matter of that mysterious passenger kept hanging around in my head, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Then, one of my closest colleagues wrote me to let me know that he had accepted a trip out of town late at night, but that he didn't think it was that mysterious client, but just in case he would let me know. And the next day, he was never heard from again. The hours of searching turned into days and the days into months, until finally the police reported him missing. I couldn't get out of my state of shock. I wanted to uninstall the app, but I needed it to make a financial difference at the end of the month. One night while I was in bed with my wife, my cell phone began to ring insistently with notifications that kept coming in. Curiosity got the better of me, and when I looked at the time, I wondered if it could be that mysterious client. The strange thing is that I had left my phone in airplane mode and without Wi-Fi so I could rest without affecting my score on the app if they requested rides. There was no way those notifications could come through. But still, there they were. I decided to ignore them and managed to fall asleep again without a problem. The next day when I woke up, I checked my cell phone and saw many unread messages on my colleagues' WhatsApp group. They were saying that they had found the bodies of some missing cab drivers, and the pictures they shared were indescribable. What I saw in those pictures was so macabre that not even a wild animal could have done something like that. Out of respect for them, I prefer not to go into details. All I know is that the person responsible deserved life imprisonment at the very least. He had to be caught immediately. The police couldn't find him because he was constantly changing his account on the app, modifying his profile each time, or so they thought. That early morning, around 3 a.m., the Uber app notification rang. It was a request from a girl who seemed completely normal, but what really struck me was the generous amount of money she was offering for the service. I decided to accept, thinking that, due to the high demand, she couldn't find a car, and that's why she was offering double the usual rate. In addition, I was struck by how detailed she was in specifying her destination and how she promised to leave a generous tip if I accepted the ride. So I headed over to the place thinking how much good that extra money would do for our baby. However, the fact that he was offering so much money also made me suspect that there must be some reason behind it. After half an hour's drive, I finally arrived. She was quite far away, and I found her standing by the roadside, with a bag slung over her shoulder. I pulled up next to her, and she very politely asked me if I was Steven, the Uber driver. I replied that I was, and without wasting any time, she got into the car. Immediately I set off in the direction of the destination I had marked on the app. The woman was incredibly beautiful, one of those breathtaking beauties, and her voice, so soft and angelic, immediately captivated me. She began to tell me that she thought no one would accept the service because of the distance from the city and the late hour. Without hesitation, she pulled out 3 wads of bills and placed them on the front seat. I felt a mixture of nerves, although I couldn't pinpoint exactly why. Suddenly, at an unexpected moment, he asked me to stop the car, and I did. I asked him what was going on, but he didn't answer. He got out of the car and examined something on the side of the road, although it was only bush. He got back in the car, and we continued on our way. When I asked him what he had seen, he replied that he would tell me later, which aroused my curiosity. However, I decided not to insist. After all, I was just the driver doing my job. However, this ritual of stopping, getting out, and examining the side of the road was repeated several times, and with each occasion, my discomfort grew. I didn't know how to react. The last time she did it, an awkward silence took over the atmosphere, until she finally confessed to me that in those same places she had taken the lives of the other cab drivers who had picked her up. I was in shock, my hands shaking like a leaf, as she told me that when she asked the other drivers to stop, they would speed up and abandon her in the middle of nowhere. My mind couldn't stop spinning, trying to understand how someone with that angelic look and voice could be behind those horrible murders. I could not assimilate that the infamous passenger so sought after, it was her. My mind could not formulate any coherent hypothesis, but something inside me told me that I was not lying. I knew I had to stay calm, although with each passing minute, my body grew tighter and sweat covered me despite the air conditioning on. I tried to hide my heavy breathing, but I couldn't stop watching her through the rearview mirror. She kept her gaze fixed on me, as if waiting for me to do or say something to trigger who knows what, just as she had done with the others. After a few minutes, she asked me to slow down again. This time he got out of the car, but instead of examining the place, he slowly approached my window. I rolled down the window and he told me that that was as far as he could go, because he had lost his life there. Then, without another word, she walked away, while the lights of my car illuminated her, until she disappeared in the darkness, descending the hill. I immediately accelerated and drove away from the scene. I was the only surviving cab driver of an event that no one believed except one of my colleagues. He had been in contact with one of the missing cab drivers minutes before the incident and told me that the passenger he was carrying at the time was beautiful, and that she had requested a ride from outside the city. Hearing this, there was no doubt in my mind. It was her. There are things that cannot be explained, but they happen. Many dark events happen on a daily basis, but these types of paranormal happenings will never come to light. If you have enjoyed this story, we invite you to subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any others. Until next time.